Okay, good afternoon, Juara. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Good afternoon, Vyasa. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, it's a pleasure's mine. The pleasure's mine. So, our friends, today we have Rosihan Juara here, and is better known as Juara in our circle of friends. He's all the way based in Tamantun, and he's agreed to share here a lot about some of his latest work on facilitation. As far as I know, Juara has been always, he's actually a multi talented guy. Lah. Okay, from so many things, from publishing. He wrote his books. Okay, one of his previous books was Vibe, right?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe later on you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just introduce you to Juara. Before that, friends, if you are here already, just drop by and say, send in a like, send in a hello, Juara, so that he knows that you are here. He is not only in Malaysia, he has done in Sri Lanka, he has done in where else, Juara?
I've done work in Indonesia.
Indonesia.
I've done work in Scotland, and
Okay.
I've done also work in Pakistan. Yeah. So
Pakistan,
these
yeah,
are, yeah,
I
yeah.
saw that one, yeah. Okay, so Juara is actually formerly an Asia Works graduate. Okay, and that's how we actually grew
True.
acquainted to each other, right?
True.
Juara is actually very passionate in developing and coaching trainers and facilitators achieve great performance. Right, to date, he has actually trained more than 4,500 trainers and facilitators. Okay, which is an awesome feat by itself. Okay, he's also an author of the books. His first book was actually for trainers. Is entitled title Vibe, a book on verbal shots, icebreakers, body shots, and energizers. So hopefully we can hear a little bit about that parts in the facilitation side. And his passion in working with youth has taken him beyond the shores. Okay, that's why he has gone to countries like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Scotland. Okay, hope that brief intro justifies what you do.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay, friends, if you're here, just say hello, Juara, so that he knows and so that he can actually, call you out and greet you too. Okay, we have already some friends here. Okay, Juara, before we start today, your precious sharing after this, few friends have actually dropped by to already say hello to you. Okay, so we have Watsala in Facebook.
Ah. Hi,
Okay,
Vasala.
I think you know her also,
Yes.
Jamuna.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Shan.
That's my guru. That's my
Yeah,
mentor.
Shan
Yeah.
Murthy. Okay,
Yeah.
great to have you here, Shan. Okay, and then Yujuan.
I
Yujuan said champion name, Juara.
My real name.
That's your real name, yes. Okay, and then Erwin Ling is here. Isaac Silveraj
Hi,
is
Alvin.
here.
Hi, Zach.
Okay, and then we'll be having friends from LinkedIn coming in shortly. Lah. All
Okay.
right. So, Juara, do you want to share a little bit about what New One does right now?
Okay. So Neo One is a learning and development consultant. Yeah. But so meaning what we do is we come up with learning solutions. And we have actually got a couple of different services, and one of the services that we do extensively is on curriculum design. So
Okay.
what we do is we design trainings, we design workshops, we design learning solutions for corporate, a learning and development solution. And because of that area that we work on, uh, uh, a lot of our solutions is I would say for our corporate solutions are almost 100% personalized solution. We do not have off-the-shelf solution for corporate. Neither do we customize. A little bit we do customize, but majority of the work is personalized solution for learning for corporates on their learning and development. So also because of that area that we do, that's where facilitation, coaching comes in. Because of the work that we do around corporate, around around design. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So one of the questions that I always hear is about coaching, right?
Mm,
What
mm,
is it? And you mentioned earlier that there's a lot of difference between coaching and facilitation,
mm, mm,
right?
mm.
So what is the difference, and what is coaching? What is facilitation?
Okay, all right. So I think maybe what I could do is I could take one more term that is a bit more also that has that's sometimes kind of confused also within that
Right.
is training. Yeah. So
Training.
let's
Yeah.
yes. So let's look at training and facilitating first. Yeah.
Right.
So when it comes to training and facilitating, is very there's a very clear distinction, and the distinction is that imagine training as inputting. So you're
Mhm.
inputting something on into a group of people, whereas facilitating is outputting. So
Right.
that itself is already almost opposite. Is already opposite. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the first one. All right. Now, when it comes to coaching and facilitating, this is quite similar because the skill sets are very similar. Yeah. Between facilitating and coaching also has got the element of outputting. Yeah.
Mm.
But traditionally, coaching would be more one-on-one. Yeah. However, there are team coaching as well. Yeah, where you coach a team, a group of people that has got the same goal. So there's also team coaching, which is a one to many. Yeah. However, in facilitating, we have when we engage our participant, we already have got a predetermined design that we come in with. Whereas coaching, there is no predetermined design. It all depends on what comes up during the session.
Right.
Yeah. That one. So and facilitating is usually one to many. Yeah, both are output. Yeah, but one to many would be more facilitating. Coaching will be one to one mostly. There is only one to many coaching, but it must be a team coach. It's called team coaching. Yeah, facilitating, you come into the session with a predetermined design, whereas coaching you don't come in with a predetermined design. It all depends on what is needed in that session. So that's some distinction of the differences. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that makes, I mean, that explains quite a bit. And also facilitating, the one of the key differences, it's also pre-designed, right?
Pre-designed, yes. So meaning
Yeah.
we have an objective before we come into the session. We already have an objective, and we design processes to take the group collaboratively towards the objective. Yeah.
Mm.
However, in coaching, we don't come in with already a certain processes predetermined. It all depends on what is needed at that particular session. Saying all that, it doesn't mean that when you're facilitating a session with a group of people, you do not change your design. You do. But the difference is you come already with a predetermined design that is flexible and fluid depending on the need of the group. Yeah. Whereas coaching, you don't come in with a predetermined design.
Okay. So in terms of training, right? So there's another question here. In terms of training and facilitation,
Mm.
so there are some trainings where there's a lot of output from the participants. Would that
Mm-hmm.
be considered facilitation?
All right. Great question. So if we looked at the spectrum, yeah. So say for
Right.
example, at this end is training, and at this end is facilitation, yeah. Because one is input and one is output. So the kind of training that you're talking about is somewhere in the middle. So that is what we call facilitative trainers. So they are still trainers because the session is still an input session. However, within the input session, there is elements of outputting. So that's why they're called facilitative trainer. You can never have you can have facilitation skills in training, but you will never have a training skill in facilitation.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
because one is output, but you can use input. One is input, and you can use output element. But if the facilitation is totally output, you cannot have any input in it. So
I see.
therefore,
Okay.
you have facilitative trainers, which is running trainings in a facilitative manner, but but still the objective is an input objective. Whereas facilitation sessions are purely output. You cannot input anything in.
Right. So that's a clear differentiator there.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so a lot of our friends are here. A lot of trainer friends are also here, and they are here to find out what's the benefits of facilitating a team. There are also L&D managers here who want to know how they can create a more facilitative environment in the company, right? So
Right.
today's topic, 7 important benefits of facilitating a team, is perfect. So let's hand it over to you, Juara.
All right. Okay. Let me just uh, I am also involved in coaching. Yeah,
Right.
just like Captain Chan has also the same set of things that he does, just like me. That's why he's my mentor. Yeah, and by
Okay.
the way, the founding president of MAFA. I was the immediate past president of MAFA, which is Malaysian Association of Facilitators. Yeah.
Okay.
Facilitation is something that is beginning to start seeping into corporate. Yeah, and previously, a lot of leaders are exposed to coaching
Right.
because that's why you see a lot of corporates for the past couple of years bringing in coaching skills for leaders. Yeah, but as I said to you, coaching is also output, but predominantly is one on one. But if you were to think about a leader's role, yeah, a leader predominantly works with a group. So actually,
Right.
facilitation skill is actually quite important for a leader because naturally he is dealing with groups. So therefore, facilitation skill is the next skill. If you were to ask me, if coaching is already a skill that leaders are bringing in already into corporate, I truly believe it's time for leaders to also bring facilitation skills as part of their leadership skill because the nature of them working with groups. Yeah. Okay, so that's the one. So in terms of the natural flair of facilitation or the essence of facilitation is truly a fit into a leader's role because they are working with a group of people. First. The second thing is facilitation is, there's a lot of definition of facilitation, but one of the essence of facilitation is collaboration, collaborative. Yeah, it has got to be, when you get a group of people and you're facilitating them, your idea is for the group to be collaborative. Yeah, and again, this word collaboration, another term that leaders are now looking into, or one of the things that the leaders are needed to do nowadays is to get the team to be to collaborating with each other. Second point, how that's as another essence of facilitation fits in into leaders skill. Yeah. And the third thing, the third essence of facilitation is empowerment. Yeah, where in a facilitation session, that's the reason why a facilitator doesn't input anything. They empower the group to come out with something. So the output, yeah. Therefore, it's very important for them to also be empowered. Again, as another thing where empowerment, collaboration, and all this is the nature of facilitation fits in very nicely with leadership. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the benefits. There are actually many benefits, but I would say I would zero in on a couple of the 7 most important benefits. And by nature of the collaboration essence of facilitation, the mere fact that when a leader uses facilitation processes and skills within the team, immediately he's already bringing in collaboration into the team
Mm-hmm.
without having to, without meaning as he uses the process, and because of the nature of the process is very collaborative, the team eventually becomes collaborative.
Right.
So he doesn't have to worry about trying to find different things to get them to collaborate. Just facilitate them, and if he does facilitation well, the team will naturally be collaborative because that's the essence of facilitation. So that's the first benefit, is that the team uh, is when he facilitates the team eventually will start to collaborate. Now, when he is collaborative and there is already collaboration in the team and he's facilitating, therefore the rapport and relationship goes up. Does it make sense? It makes sense,
Yes,
huh?
it does.
Because
It does.
as you collaborate, as you facilitate, you create this relationship. element into the scene. Yeah. So therefore, relationship and rapport increases as the leader uses facilitation processes.
Right.
Because the group cannot run away from creating relationship with each other if facilitation is available. Okay. So now, just with one skill, you already get two things that you're handling. Okay,
Right.
what else will come up? Because of the facilitation processes that you use, more often than not, these facilitation processes, when they empower others, yeah, when it allows them to empower others because they need to come up with something. So the leader actually stands back,
Right.
and the team is actually doing the work. So then another thing that comes up is what the team becomes empowered.
Right.
Yeah, so then again, one skill now brings in empowerment, installs empowerment in the group. So that's three benefits.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
Create relationship and rapport, increases collaboration, and then the other thing is empowering the team. So these are all naturally essence of facilitation.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so that's three already. So let's now look at when you empower people, yeah, and when you step back, they cannot but be creative. They cannot but be innovative, correct? Because
Yes.
they need to, they are looking, they can't look anywhere else for solution. So that's the other thing. Not only they become creative, they suddenly become solution focused as well through the facilitation processes that is created. So now, number one is the collaboration element, rapport and relationship. Yeah, it creates empowerment, and because the leader steps out, the team is forced to be creative and innovative, and they are naturally, when they are creative and innovative, what happens, they become solution focused, they become innovators to innovate. Yeah, so that's the five benefit. So you see, it actually sort of like,
Yeah.
it's like spiraling one over the
Yes.
other, and
Yes.
all this came about because of the essence of facilitation. Yeah.
Right.
So and when they are solution focused, they also will start developing creative. They start developing strategic thinking and critical thinking. Yeah, because they become creative, they become empowered. They also develop this. Yeah,
Right.
and last but not least, of course, when you empower people, they become they have ownership. So that's part of empowerment, and engagement, because you are now rather than top bottom, you are actually pulling things out from them, so you are engaging them in a more meaningful manner. So those are the benefits of for a leader that uses facilitation.
Right.
Naturally, just by using facilitation, all these things will come from the team.
Right. So, and I gather that when this happens, this process happens, there's a lot more retention and uh, lot more retention after the whole process, right? People
Yes.
remember things a lot more because they are the ones who are doing it, right?
Correct. Yeah, and this is the other thing about facilitation. To some extent, when leaders use facilitation, there is of course a setback. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the setback is that yes, they are empowering their people, but it will take time because it's not naturally people are empowered. People are not naturally willing to collaborate. So it does take a little bit of time. So this is where I think managers need to be careful when, or leaders need to be careful when they bring in facilitation. Have patience. Yeah,
Right.
the result is not going to happen immediately. So that's the reason
Okay.
why a lot of leaders and managers who rather instruct and manage because they want the quick result. But the
Right.
problem with instructing and managing, it doesn't create the ripple effect of empowerment. It doesn't create the ripple effect of ownership. And over time, eventually the team will always be relying on the leader for more instruction, for more to manage them. So in the end, you get short-term result, but long-term, you're not developing your team.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. So when we talk about facilitation, what is a kind of process that goes on in the room? Okay, we have the concept, but what is
Mhm.
what's the whole process?
All right. So there are many different ways of, I mean, if you were to look at the process or the flow, I call it the flow in a session.
Right.
There are many different opinions of it. For us, we have what we call the 4 C's. Yeah.
Okay.
So whenever I do a session, a facilitation session, I will always design my session based on the 4 C's, 4 phases of
Okay.
yeah. So the first phase is what I call the centering phase.
Okay.
So I will design some processes for the people that are in the room to be centered, to be grounded, to basically be present. Yeah, but that's important because
Yeah.
without that, I will not be able to do anything with that because their mind is all over the place. So now
Yes.
that they are centered, what do I do with them? The second C is where I would then set the context of the day, meaning I will frame the session so that they know what is going to happen, they know what's expected of them, they know the objective, they know their roles, they know my role, and they know how to work with each other. So that's also important. Yeah. So that is the second C. The third C is the content. So this is the third phase. And this is the biggest phase. Yeah. However, the first two phase is as important as the third phase. Because if the first two phase is not done well enough, the content phase, which is the biggest chunk, will not be able to be done well. So the content phase has got many phases in between lah. So for example, some would say the first phase of the content would be clarifying things, yeah, or setting the clarity of what are they going to do. And then the second part will be maybe ideating, etc., etc. So the content has got many variation. So that's the third phase. Yeah, in general, the third phase. The last phase is now that the content or the processes have been done and the objective have been met. I need to close the session. So that's the fourth C. Yeah. So centering, context set, the content, which is the processes of the facilitation to arrive at the objective of the session, and last, I need to close it. Yeah, so
Right.
there will be other activities or processes that I will use to close the session. So that would be somewhat the flow of a coaching
Okay.
of a facilitation session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And do you ask? So first thing is you set the whole context, set the grounding and everything, and then go on to the actual output, and
Yes.
then the closing, right?
Yes.
Uh,
But very early on, you must remember the centering part. Yes, sir. Because the
okay.
centering part is where you get them to be present in the room, ready to go. Because a
Okay.
lot of time when you do facilitation session or even training, people come in, their mind is still thinking about home, still thinking about, did I lock the car? Will I be able to have time to answer my email? So they are not present, and it's very difficult when people are not present to actually move them forward. So that's why it's important to start off with centering to get them to be present before the contact set happens.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. So we're going to go on to a few more questions coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, let's just say hello to a few of your friends that come here to visit. We have, let's see, uh, Rani, okay, Wesley. Wesley said, nice headset. And I'm sure you know this person, Yasmin.
Oh yes, that's my partner in crime.
Your partner in
Yeah.
crime, Yasmin.
Partner
Hello,
in crime.
Yasmin. And then we have Bawani here. And then Maythir,
Hi Bapak.
Reka.
Metia. Hi.
And then we have Captain Shan. And then we have Vimala. Vimala Supaya is actually a coach.
Hmm.
Now she has just recently came down to Malaysia. And then we have, okay, May Theatre has also asked a question which you will, answer later on. Can you
Mm-hmm.
please give a few examples of how you center your audience, right? I think,
Ah,
okay, so that's a
right.
good one. That's a good
Yes.
one. And
Yes.
then Anis Al-Habshi has said hello, okay, from
Oh, hi
Facebook,
Anis.
Anis. And then from LinkedIn, we have Prathpal Singh. And then we have
Hi
Major Dr.
Prabha.
Prabha.
Hi Dr. Prabha.
He has also asked a question. Can you share some advice to conduct effective virtual facilitation? Okay, which I think we're going to cover later on, right?
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and then Siva Lachmi has said hello also.
Oh, hello.
Okay. Uh, while we go on, right, before we answer the first question on how you center the audience, could you share a little bit about your book, VIBE,
Right.
Vibe, and then the all the what it stands for, the Vibe. I think it stands. Is it used in facilitation?
No, actually, the book was okay. Maybe I can backtrack. So the book was
Sure.
co-authored with a friend of mine called Carson. Yeah,
Kasan,
and
okay.
Carson is Carson Koo, and he does a lot of the team building, team development work. Yeah,
Okay.
So that was a project with him. So the history behind it was that people talk about energizers, icebreakers, yeah. And one thing that we realized, and even for me as I train trainers, I realized that there's no clear distinction about what is an
Right.
icebreaker, what is an energizer, what can you what is constitute as an energizer, what constitutes an icebreaker, yeah. And there are other things in between that people tend to maybe confused or unclear of because there's no distinction. So
Mhm.
I and Hassan sat down and say, look, this is a set of activities that all trainers use in training, yeah. And however, there's no clear distinction about what is what. And I'm a
Yeah.
great stickler for distinction. Yeah,
Okay.
I love the area of creating distinction for different things. So we decided to come up with a set of distinction. Yeah. So what we did was we looked at different kinds of trainings that we have done, and we looked at the different kind of activities that we do. Yeah, and then we actually streamline it into different kinds of activities. So in that book, Vibe stands for verbal shots. So verbal shot is also another form of activity that you can do for a certain particular purpose. A verbal shot is basically to change state. Yeah, and it is done very quickly within a few 30 seconds, yeah, to 1 minute, a verbal shot that allows people to change state. So it's an energizer, but a very special kind of energizer. Yeah, that is I is
Okay.
icebreaker. So
Right.
what is the difference between icebreaker and energizer? So in the book, it actually explains the difference between an icebreaker and energizer. E is energizer, B is body shots. Body shot is another form of an energizer. However, it doesn't fall into an energizer per se because it is something that you do within 5 to 10 seconds to change
Okay.
someone's state and energy. Yeah. Whereas an energizer is a process that you take people, and it usually takes you between 3 to 10 minutes to energize someone using a
Right.
process. So we had
Okay.
all this. In fact, we actually have a few other distinction that we did not bring in. Yeah. The
Okay.
reason why we came up with the book Vibes is just to handle energizers, icebreakers, verbal shots, and body shots. The second book that we are doing right now has got an S there, which is activities that is about setting up or stage setting. So these are not energizers, neither are they icebreakers, but a special kind of activities that trainers can use to set up things, to
Okay.
get yeah. So now there's Vibes, yeah, the next book. But we also have got other distinctions like a connection activity, what is a learning activity. So all that is actually spelled out. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the book. So can be used by trainers, can be used by facilitators as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Count me in for one of the books for sure.
definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So let's answer the first question. So,
Okay.
like, can you give a few examples? This is a question by Maythir. Can you
Mhm.
give a few examples of how you center your audience?
Okay. Right. All right. Thank you so much for that question. There are actually many different ways of centering the participant. But first and foremost, the objective of centering is to allow them to be present, to be body, mind, and soul in the room. Yeah.
Okay.
So with that objective, you can actually start thinking of different activities. So I shall give you one activity, a few activities. Yeah, you could do what we call a close eye process. Yeah,
Okay.
when people are coming in, for example, when we used to have face-to-face workshops, when we start at 9, some people are slightly late, some couldn't find parking. So in their mind is everything flustered, especially people
Yes.
who are, that wants to be early, but somehow or other they just couldn't be early, and they're really beating themselves. They're saying that, oh my God, this is not me. In their mind, they're saying that, how could I do this, or things that, maybe someone has got a fight, or sending the son, having the son had to lecture the son, and he's feeling all the emotions are all up and down. So what you could do is you could do a closed eye process where you get people to be in the room, and then create a closed eye process where you have to close their eyes and take them through a guided imagery to calm them down. So that's one way of centering. So the other way of centering that you could do is just a simple breathing exercise, getting people to just stay still, focus on their breathing, and then take them through a breathing exercise. The 4-5-6. Do you know the 4-5-6 breathing exercise?
No, I don't.
So what you do is you get them to take a breathe, to breathe in the count of 4,
Okay.
and then hold their breath in the count of 4, and then let their breath out in the count of 4. First round. Second
Okay.
round, breathe in the count of 5. Yeah, hold in the count of 5, let go into the count of 5, and then next one is 6. So you can go to 7 if you want to. So when you start doing this, people start focusing on their breathing.
Yeah.
Then they will start being present. So all the other things out there suddenly becomes insignificant. So that's the
Right.
second activity that you could do. The third activity, this is why icebreakers are so important, is you can use many different kinds of icebreakers to center them. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that because icebreaker is an activity that you do to get people connected to each other, and because they're doing an activity, they will be centered.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
a couple of different examples.
So you can
that you-
use the breathing, and you can also use an icebreaker to center.
Yes. Yeah, and
Right.
appropriate ones. Yeah, the ones that will get them to be present. So if you get them to do an icebreaker that doesn't get them to be in the room, then it defeats the purpose. Yeah. But the intention of the icebreaker is not to center. The intention of an icebreaker is to connect.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but it can double up as an icebreaker, as a centering activity. Yes.
Okay. I think there's a clear distinction there. Okay. And let me just see. Okay. There's another question. What is one icebreaker that you normally use?
Oh, okay. I have one of the things that we also do in Year One is we design games, we design activities because of
Okay.
our curriculum design. We also come up with learning aids,
Okay.
like deck of cards. We have something called the envelope game. So let me just share with you two icebreakers that I usually do. Yeah.
Right.
So the first icebreaker that I usually do, and it's quite popular, is called the giant name card.
Mm-hmm.
So usually what happens is people go around, and when they do their connection, they exchange their name card, right? Which is okay. I mean, that's good, but it's very formal. So what we want to
Yes.
do is want to get them to be more loose, a bit more connected, a bit more present. Correct? Remember we talked about getting them to be present. So a giant name card is really, really interesting that you could do, and because it has all this element. And that's the reason why I like to use it. So what you do is you let them take a piece of A4 paper, and you could then decide to split it into how many quadrants that you want. I usually split it into 4 quadrants.
So it
Yeah.
becomes a giant one.
Yes, it becomes a giant name card. So in that giant name card, I will then tell them on one column, on one of the quadrant, I want you to write your name and a symbol that represents your name. And sometimes I even tell them not to write your name, but draw a symbol that represents your name. Now suddenly when you hear that question, they go like, yeah, what is a symbol that? Then see, they're already present. They're already in, because immediately when you ask them a question and they're already thinking about it, they're already off from outside. They're already in. So then the second one, I would, depending on the group, the second one I would say, what are the strengths that you bring into the room?
Right.
The third quadrant, I would put in, what are the challenges that might come up that will stop you from being present in the room? Yeah. And the last one is, what would be your objective at the end of the day? So I will get them to do this giant name card, and then not only doing it, then what I will do is I'll get them to stand up, and then I'll give them a challenge for them to actually move around and meet as many people as they can to share their giant name card with each other. So
Right.
that's one way of doing it. That's we call the giant name card.
So you get a lot of activity in the room, I'm sure.
Yes, you get people to be centered, you get people to be creative, you get people to connect to each other, you get people to loosen up. So that's why I like the giant name card. So that's one icebreaker that I usually do. The second one that I usually do is what we call the CG check-in. So the CG check-in is basically a set of cards. We call them CG cards. These are basically just cards that are having drawings on it, different drawings, different symbols. Yeah, and what we do is we lay it out on the table. Yeah, and then we will then get them to look at the cards and to pick two cards. Yeah, at least two cards. Yeah, and the two cards needs to represent two things. Yeah, number one is how are you feeling right now? That question itself is a centering question.
Yes, you got to think, and then you got to, feel what you are feeling right now.
Exactly. So that's number one, is we ask them, what are you feeling at this moment in time? And usually that question is a question that straight away get people to go, yeah, because it's not a question that you ask yourself all the time, right?
Yes,
so that's one. And then I will tell them to pick one or two cards that represents their feeling. Yeah. So the reason why I use a card is because with a card, they can somehow, for the ones who are a little bit more timid, or the ones that are not as extroverted or or boisterous, they can use the card as an intermediary for their thought. And there's never right or wrong because the card is just a drawing. So it can be very interpretive. Yeah. The second question I will ask them is, now that you are here, what do you like to get done the next few hours? So getting them to do what we call focus intent, getting them to zero in and thinking, why am I here? So those are the two icebreakers that I like to use, because it allows people to also be present, but at the same time, it also allows people to sort of start thinking differently.
Okay. All right. So there's another question here related to that one, right? So how do you get everyone to join in? Sometimes there are people who are shy and don't want to even connect or engage. How do you go about this?
All right. So nice, beautiful question. One of the things that we believe in is what we call the content risk model. Yeah. So what the question alludes is this model called the content risk model, where in a nutshell, the content risk model says that the risk that the participants are willing to take at the beginning of the training or the workshop is very low as versus the end of the training, which they will be willing to take bigger risk. Yeah. So because the risk is very low, as a trainer, you need to put in more content. You need to put in more instruction. You need to put in more deliberate deliberate activities that they can do, right? So to balance out the risk. Okay. So therefore, if for those people, number one, you need to also, in the context set or in your conversation with him, you need to need to communicate that it's okay for them to not participate. Don't make it wrong. Yeah. So in fact, when you actually say that, it actually gets them to say, I want to participate. When you actually tell them, oh, it's okay for you, it's a choice for you to participate, yeah? And believe me, when you say that, most of them will go like, if it's a choice for me to participate, they themselves sees that it is actually an opportunity for them, yeah? So that's number one, that I will never force anyone to participate. So I'm okay with someone that goes like, Juara, I don't feel like participating. Fine, it's okay. So they will that. Okay. The other thing that I usually do is that I will take the participation gradually up over the days. Yeah. So that's the reason why I start off with a very minimum risk. What is the minimum risk? The minimum risk is, okay, let me ask you this, Vyasa. In a room, what is the minimum risk that someone can take? The risk with whom?
Yourself, myself.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So remember the giant name card?
Yes.
The first phase was what? Risk with self. I just draw. Yeah. Right?
Nothing.
So they can stop nothing. Correct. Yeah. So once they start taking the risk with themselves, then they will be willing, since I've drawn, yeah, might as well I share. So what do I do? I allow them to mingle. They choose who they want to share.
Right.
So meaning they will then choose someone that they are comfortable with. Correct? So the other
Right.
thing is I don't get them to share in front of the room because that is a high risk. In fact, that is the
Super high
biggest
risk at the beginning. Yeah.
super high risk at the beginning. So that's the reason why I dislike the icebreaker that gets very early. They tell you to stand up and introduce yourself to the whole room. That is not a very good icebreaker because why? We call that the creeping death. You know why the creeping death? It's because if I am the last person or the middle person, I'm waiting for the turn to come, right? So that's like the death is creeping, coming nearer and nearer to me, number one. Number two, when you have to do that, you are more worried about what to say. Correct?
Right.
So when someone say that, you're saying, what do I introduce to all these people? Yeah. And suddenly you are not present anymore.
Right.
See?
Yes.
So it
Yes.
defeats the purpose. So I will not, that is high risk. So I won't do that. So what I will do is I will gradually move them through this risk model. So they will start taking risks with themselves. So for example, like the CG cards, what do? They pick the card for themselves.
Yes.
And if they don't want to share, it's okay. But at least they have taken one step. Yeah. So that's
Yes.
how I would do it. Is I will gradually move the risk so that people get comfortable in participating. Number one. Number two, I will never force anyone to take anything that do anything that they don't want.
Right.
Yeah. I hope that
Okay.
answers the question.
Yeah, that's a good one. Of course, later on we'll definitely want to know. Juara, are you okay? Do you see a lot of? Is the screen okay for you? It's not freezing up there, right?
No. It's good. It's good.
It's
Yeah.
good, huh? Okay,
Yeah.
but I cannot see you a
Yeah.
little bit. I think it's going off and on. Would you mind just
Oh, is
going
it?
off, exiting, and then coming in back again to this one?
Okay, Ken. With the same link,
Yeah,
yeah?
with the same link.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So meanwhile,
I
just
can.
say hello to everyone. Yeah. Okay, so Juara's having a little bit of technical glitches. He'll be coming in back shortly. So in the meantime, feel free to drop your questions. I think Juara is an excellent person when it comes to, because he really goes the detail. He looks through the subject, he studies the subject, and here's a point where you can get an opinion from an expert. Right. Just drop in your questions here so that we can ask it when it comes back in after this. Okay, so we have also friends. Okay, let me just get in Juara a bit. Oh yeah,
Hi.
this is good. This is good.
Okay.
This is good.
All right. Sorry, I didn't
Okay,
know
this
what
is
happened.
super. No problem. No problem. It happens sometimes because the internet during these days it goes up and down a little bit.
Right.
Okay, so a question that was great, uh, Juara. There's a question from Vimala. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what about setting ground rules?
Okay. Um, I am not against setting ground rules because setting ground rules is definitely one of the context set that you need to do because the people
Okay.
need to know how to interact with each other, how they can work with each other in the room. Yeah, and this is for facilitation as well as for training. And facilitation session also we do this. However, it all depends on the context that you're trying to set. So I would say if adult learners, I will more often than not will not use the word ground rules. I might use what I call working agreements, where I would
Okay.
interact with them for them to come up with a set of practices that they can agree on or they can align to that allows them to work together. So it's like a ground rule. The thing about ground rule is ground rules has the connotation that it's a rule and it comes from you. Yeah. However, if I was with kids or young adults, I will most probably use ground rules rather than working agreements. Yeah. Uh,
Right.
yeah. So it all depends. But yes, that kind of item is actually part of context set. It allows people to understand and appreciate how they can interact with each other in a safe environment. Yeah.
Okay, so Vimala, I hope your question got answered. And Kalpana asked another question. Kalpana, right? Kalpana Devi, her question is: usually when we do trainings in-house, there's a tendency for participants to leave the room from time to time because the bosses call them or they have to attend a meeting. How do you reduce this occurrence?
Okay. Wow. Okay. So number one, there is no. I will treat them. They are adults, so I will give them the benefit of the doubt that they know what's best for them. That's number one. Yeah. That's the mindset that I have as I work with participants. So number two, I think if you set the context well enough, they will be able to appreciate why they are in the room and what is their purpose and function and why it's important to be in the room. So I think this I've always relied on a very strong contact set. So usually my contact set takes about an hour and a bit to just get people to be clear. Yeah. So now I also within the context set, you can also set the context of them having the choice to actually go out and handle their stuff if it's truly urgent. Yeah, because let's put it this, at the end of the day, what we are focused on is their learning. So can you imagine if you open and close, force them to be in the room, but in their mind they know that they have to do something quickly, just 5 minutes, but they can't go out. Where do you think their mind is going to be at? Not at the
Outside.
learning, it's outside. Exactly. So in the end, it defeats the purpose of them being in the room. So I would actually, rather than leave the room, handle that thing and come back so that they are fully present in the room. So for me, these are the couple of things that I have come to surrender, and I always put this in advance, and I always tell them that what are the times that are for the breaks, and I actually invite them to look at the breaks as the place where they can actually handle their WhatsApp, handle their email. I actually deliberately say that in my contact set.
Yeah. So
So
then
I
it fits within the context that you said, actually, right?
Correct. So it allows them to take ownership of their own learning, and this is very vital and very important. And I think it goes a long way rather than them feeling being forced in the room. It goes a long way when you acknowledge and honor them to take ownership of their learning. More often than not, they become your partner. They become
Mm.
your learning partner, and they actually become more effective because of that. Yeah, so that would be my answer. There's no way for you. There are ways like you could reprimand them. I know some trainings they actually give denda and all that, but I feel that if you do all that, you are not creating a covenant. You need to create a covenant
Yeah.
with your participant. Yeah, that you can both live by. And what is that covenant around? Is around mutual respect, mutual understanding, and mutual uh, yeah, that's two, respect and understanding, I would say.
Mm.
Yeah.
What do you mean by covenant?
Covenant is yeah, I mean, like in religious terms, covenant is basically a promise lah, yeah, or an agreement. If I use the word covenant because for me, I want to put in a little bit more heavy enforcement around this agreement that you have. Yeah, it doesn't
Right.
have to be a verbal agreement, but it is an agreement that you hold with yourself as you handle your participant. To have a
And take it
covenant with them,
seriously.
yeah, take it seriously. That they are
Mm.
adults. So yeah, they're adults, and therefore, being an adult, you need to accord them with certain characteristics that is pertinent to them. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, right. So now Vimala has said thank you, okay, for your answer. Okay. And then, of course, she said the group coming up with it is, of course, the best, right?
Mm.
On their own, the agreements, right? So Maythir has got a question. How would you manage the tone and energy of a participant that is dominating the space too much?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, this is also another thing that facilitation. We talk a lot about facilitation. In facilitation, is how do we? Because one of the essence of facilitation as well is all voices in the room must be heard. Well, all the voices of the room has opportunity to be heard, and all voices in the room is important. Yeah. So not one voice is more than the other. So there are a couple of things that you could do. Okay, so I always believe that prevention is better than cure. So that's the first way that you should go. So what do I mean by that? So that means within the design of your session, you need to already embed some form of intervention so that this kind of voices doesn't go above other people's voices. So within the processes that you use, within the steps that you take with them, it actually neutralizes these voices. At the same time, it allows other voices to rise up. So that is in the design. Okay, what happens if you design and it still comes up? Okay, the first thing, and this is something that I've learned from Captain Shan, the first thing is that you don't want to fight ego with ego. Because you don't want to be a power play. So meaning they show power, you show power. So they are become a high voice, you come in and become a bigger voice than them. Guess what's going to happen? When you do that, he will then take a bigger voice. So what you need to do is, when it comes to this situation, you need to disperse the power. You need to disperse the energy. And there are many different methods of doing it. You could assign them roles. The ones that that's starting to have a lot of opinion, you could assign them a role that allows them to use that voice sparingly, and it also honors them with a role. So for example, he could be, say, the captain. I would appoint him the captain of the group, for example. And as the role of a captain of the group, he needs to make sure that everyone's voice is heard.
Right.
Guess what? So you see, that's one way of you trying to disperse. So you are not fighting the power. You're not putting in energy around him, but you are dispersing the energy. So that would be one of the things that I would say is come from the context of, yes, how do I disperse this energy, rather than I confront this energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great answers there. Now, next question is from Sarini Bujang, okay, which leads on, this question actually leads on to actually virtual facilitation, which, you are really on right now. Okay, so can you give an example of how you facilitate game-based activities virtually to cater more towards like kinesthetic learners?
Okay.
And yeah.
Right. So yeah, Sarini, I know Sarini. She can be quite naughty, So she will she'll always prod with very difficult questions, but very practical ones. Okay.
Yeah.
There is one thing that I have always believed in when it comes to virtual facilitation, which I also would like to share with others, and also invite others to come on board. Virtual, just the word virtual somehow rather moves people into working with laptops and working with computers.
Right.
And just by nature lah. I mean, it's not by design, but just by nature, because of the word, and because we tend to want to work with the computer. When we do that, inevitably we actually don't realize is that there is another source of input that can be brought into virtual that we are missing out, which is the real world.
Right.
So the virtual world exists within the scope of a real world. You get what I'm saying? So right now, for example, we are virtually communicating.
Yeah.
Yes, you're using a laptop and a computer, but as I'm dealing with you virtually, this virtual world that we are dealing with is within a real world that I have.
Yes.
See, I have this chair, I have
your whiteboard at the back.
Whiteboard, the fan is running, Yasmin is on the other side, sunlight is coming in. So we forget that there's this real world that we can also bring into virtual.
Right. I'm very interested to hear this.
Right. So for the answer of how do you do game-based learning, you can actually use the real world.
Okay.
Meaning bring in real world content into virtual. An example would be, I could say, for example, I would say to you, okay, Vyasa, I want you to look around, really look around you right now. You're on your desk right now?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to look around your desk, and I want you to choose an item, that represents what training is for you. An item that represents what training is for you. Could you choose one item now?
Okay, from whatever I have around
whatever
me.
you have around you. Look at something that you feel can represent what training is.
Okay, I've chosen one.
Okay, could you show us what is that item? And why did you choose that as a representation of training?
Okay, so within these things that I have here, this one
Mm-hmm.
is something that can help to, it shows, it has many different apps. It can
Mm-hmm.
communicate, it
Mm-hmm.
can get input, it can go, give out outputs, and it
Mm.
can, you can feed in things, and then, new things comes out,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I
Right.
mean, within the whole scope of what I have here,
Mm-hmm.
this is interesting.
Right. So it's something. So to you, training is not just input but also output. It's also
Yes,
many different formats that you need to bring in, just like a phone has got many different apps. Is that what you're
correct.
saying?
Yes, that's right.
There you go. That's it. I just did it by just you bringing in real item into virtual.
That's a good one actually, because like it made me think,
Mm.
it made me grounded right
Mm.
now itself,
Mm.
and I got to, instead of just receiving, I'm
Mm.
also doing something, and then I'm giving back an output.
Exactly. So
Mm.
that's one way of how you can bring in game-based learning, meaning you can use you can bring in items from external from the real world into the virtual world. That's number one.
Right,
Number
right.
two, another tip. And there's actually a lot of different ways of it, but I just give you two that I think would be beneficial for everyone that they can use immediately. The other
Okay.
thing is PowerPoint.
Yeah,
Everyone, practically everyone that uses the computer knows how to use PowerPoint, correct?
yeah, that's right.
And PowerPoint actually is a very interactive tool because you can do things on it. It's not like it's a PDF. A PDF you can't do anything in it, you just
Yeah,
read, right?
yeah, true.
So the one other way that you could do is that you could use PowerPoint, yeah, and
Okay.
get people to work on PowerPoints and present. You can send them a PowerPoint in advance for them to do something on it and then screen share what they did on the PowerPoint. Or you can
Mm,
tell them to go off for 5 minutes, do something on the PowerPoint, and come back and show them. So
interesting.
there is this interactive common. I am always a great believer of using low tech.
Right.
So the lowest tech is no tech lah. So therefore, take something
In the
from around
room.
you, the
Yeah,
room, or you could even take a piece of paper and draw something.
yeah,
Then it can
yeah.
become a game. You can put, because a game is basically just a set of rules with a certain objective, yeah, that has got a challenge, yeah, in it, and an object. So in that manner, you can create any game,
Right,
and they
right.
can do any game with the tools that they have. But
Yes.
however, prudent wise, before the session, prepare them. Get them
Mm.
to sort of tell them that, okay, when you go into virtual, make sure that you have a marker pen, you have post-it note and different pieces of paper. So those things you can actually utilize to get the real world into the virtual world, and the kinesthetic will love it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or as simple as this. If the kinesthetic are so kinesthetic that they still want to move, you tell them this. Okay, in a short while, when I say go, everyone, I want you to go to your fridge, yeah, or your kitchen, and I want you to take something that is favorite of yours to eat and bring it back.
But yeah, that's a good one, huh?
Right. So they will then have to go up, go to the kitchen, think of, what do I like to eat that I can show people what it is. Then they will bring it to the room.
Yeah.
And then what
Eh,
do they do? You just get them to share screen.
right, right, right. Or just show it there straight away, lah.
Exactly. So I might bring, my Milo tin, and I say I love Milo, and this is how I make my Milo. So you get so many different things. You can even tell them, okay, I want you to, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and I want you to make a drink, yeah, that you can then share with your friends the recipe for it.
Right.
It has got to be a drink that can be made in 5 minutes. Ready? Go. And you will see the creativity. People will be coming in with mugs of Milo,
Right.
cordials, maybe just plain water with oil, with essence,
Some juice or
precious
something.
oil. Yeah, exactly. So many different things that you could do. But the key is, don't think virtual as virtual. Try to
Mm.
think that how can I bring in the real world into virtual? And that, once you have that, the world is your oyster.
Right, right, right. The other day, just sharing a little bit, right? Because we also conduct a lot of trainings online already.
Yes.
Things like ours a little bit more technical, like, things like AutoCAD, Excel. We have a lot of engineers and all sitting in. So the interesting thing is, like, at one point of time, because especially in the early days, things became a little bit like, because it's very input based. Whereas in our normal training rooms, there's a lot of, interaction going on. So it's lighter. So what happened was it was getting a little bit draggy. Then, the other day, Cheryl Vita also shared here about, learning technologies. So she said, use a simple thing like what you said, something that is real world. So we just took a piece of paper and asked everybody to write down their favorite numbers, and then they show it on the screen like this, like that. And everyone started becoming quite interactive. It's just a thing to chill out a little bit. And okay,
Yeah.
so
So
coming back
that's
to
a
that, right?
yeah.
Coming back to that, there's also, because I think a lot of people are also quite used to Zoom meetings and maybe Microsoft Team, Google Hangouts. A lot of them choose to not be there. Not the camera is turned off. Right, it's quite common. I think we see that quite often. There are a lot of reasons. Sometimes they don't want to look bad, or maybe they're having a lot of children running around, or there's a lousy background at the back, things like that. So they just don't want to show themselves, or they just don't feel good to be on the screen that day. Maybe they're having a bad headache. I think we don't have that problem, right? uh, so what happens? What can we do in that circumstance where a lot of them, let's say, like 60% of them or even 70% of them are not on screen?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just that
Thank you.
the initials are there, right?
Yes. So nice. This is the other thing, the other concept around what are the things that I've been looking into when it comes to designing a virtual facilitation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is how do what would be the sort of catchphrase or context that we can embody as we move along in our day-to-day engagement. So I came, there's the famous term in business model canvas, product market fit. People always say, "Oh, product market fit." So I realized that when you work with virtual, I will then segue to your question. I'll answer your question.
Okay. Sure.
I'm just setting it up this way. So
Got
there
it.
is this thing called platform feature and activity fit.
Okay.
So meaning the feature of the platform and the activity needs to fit. So how do you, as a designer, what do? You first look at the feature, because the activity you already know. There's so
Yeah.
many different activities that you're already doing outside there. But how do I bring it into the real world? It's actually by taking the activity, but first looking at the feature of the platform, and then taking the activity and see how it can fit. So you're doing it the other way around. So saying all that, meaning video is only one feature of
Yeah.
many different kind of features that people can have on a platform.
Okay.
Let's take Zoom, for example.
Right.
Yeah. Screen share, you don't have to share your video, you can screen share your
Yes.
desktop,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
You
Yes.
can use the chat
Right.
function, correct?
Right.
And the chat function have two. There's a private function, you can chat one-on-one, and you
Yes.
can chat one-to-many. You have the
That's right.
breakout room. You have the icon in the participant panel.
Right.
Yeah. You have voice, and then you have video.
Yes.
There are 6 features, and video is only one. So that means without a video, you can still engage them with these 5.
Right.
Right. So it's okay. It's irrelevant whether, of course, you would love for them to see to see them, yeah. Or
Yeah.
during check-in, you want to see their face, but it's not necessary for
Right.
you to actually have the video to have an engaging session. Because
Mm.
just in Zoom, there's a polling
Polls.
function
Yes.
in
Polls.
Zoom,
Yeah.
7. So that means it's irrelevant actually for people
Right.
to whether you can see them using the video or not. But the
Right.
key is they must be able to see you. Whether you are not able to see them, it's okay.
Right.
If they don't have a camera to see you, then Zoom also not functional, then all of it will go on. Yeah. So I would say that, yes, sir. So rather than us being worried about one feature that is not available to us,
Yeah,
why don't we use the other 6 features that can still engage them? Yeah,
right.
that would be my answer.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, because like sometimes as trainers and all, we are very used to seeing their faces, their reactions, their smiles or their frowns, or something's not working. So here I think we have to really learn how to use all the, like you said, like there are seven, and we are only used to the hearing part and they're seeing their face, but we are not trained to use the other five options that are available already.
Right. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can even use icebreakers. I mean, like, in virtual, you can have like, soundtrack icebreakers where everyone switch off their audio,
Right.
their video, yeah,
Okay.
so that you don't see anyone, and then you
Okay.
invite one at a time to mouth a soundtrack and let everyone else guess. You get what
Okay.
I'm saying? Yeah.
Right.
So for example, like I could mouth Hawaii 5
Right.
soundtrack. I mean, using my mouth, yeah, and then let everyone guess, and everyone switch off their video so
So
that
that
they can,
means
yeah.
that
So
means
they
your video
rely.
is on.
Mine also doesn't have to be on because I have their participant list. Then I also, okay, Vyasa, what will be the soundtrack that you are going to offer to us, and let us all guess it. Then you make the sound. I don't even have to see you.
Oh, just the sound only.
Right, right. So that's how you use sound in facilitating people to participate.
Right.
And then someone will so they cannot see each other. So you can, then everyone who wants to guess, they can use the chat to just guess. Oh, Star Wars team, or someone will say, oh, Battlestar team, or someone will say 21st century. Then you will get the winner. Okay, now
Right,
next
right,
one.
right, right. Ah, okay. That's a nice one.
Hmm. So the soundtrack challenge, you could do that. You know?
Ah, okay. That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Many ways.
So I think we just have to get used to the new senses or the new points of input and output. I think we are very trained to the visual and then the verbal, right? Sounds.
Mm.
Okay. So any other
Correct.
examples of like, let's say grounding, icebreakers and all in the virtual side?
Hmm. Yeah, you could. I think one of the things that we could do with so it all depends on the group again. Yeah. So
Yeah.
sometimes you get a fresh group, totally new.
Yes.
How you could center them is to actually take them through what we call a tech check. That
Okay.
could be a centering. So I also a great believer of killing two birds with one stone. So I like to do activities that allows me to have a few more benefits. Yeah. So for example, what I meant by a tech check, even though okay, this is the other thing, the other concept. People use, but they might not be utilizing it fully. So people use Zoom, but maybe they
Right.
are not fully utilizing Zoom. So this is
Yes.
where if you're facilitating virtually, you can use the tech check session, which is one of the ways to center them, to actually be beneficial as well for you to take them through all the different features of Zoom. So it's like they're learning the all the functions of Zoom, but it's also a centering process. So that is one that you could do. The other thing that you could do to just quickly get people to center in virtual is to tell them to change their name.
Mm.
The rename
Okay.
function. Do you know the
Right.
rename function, the participant? Then you go, all right. So guys, before we start, I know today is National Day, for example, yeah. I'm
Right.
training on the 31st of August. Today is National Day. So what I want you to do is I want you to think of a character, a local character that you can associate with Merdeka, and I want you to change your name by putting his name or her name in between your name. So my name would be Rosihan Juara.
Okay.
So
Okay.
your name
Okay.
could be Rosihan Teku Abdul Rahman, Vyasa Teku Abdul Rahman. No.
Right.
Immediately you tell them to do that, they're already straight away present and you can already center. And
Right.
guess what? They are learning how to change to rename their name in the participants list. That's one way of centering.
Yeah, I think I got to learn how to do that also, renaming.
Yeah, if
I
you're in
probably
Zoom
would have
lah.
gone out in settings and then come back and then, change some settings there. I got to check that one out for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so those are the kind of little things that you could do for them to center. Yeah, virtually lah.
Okay.
That is. Yeah.
Right, right, right. So,
Mm.
Juana, do you have, before we finish the show, and friends, those who have, any last questions or, any things you want to, share about or talk about, please drop them in now. Juana, would you be able to share a little bit about what, your latest project is, which is the virtual facilitation, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
some of the
Yeah.
points you were sharing and all.
Mm. Yeah. So personally, I believe that the new norm is coming.
Right.
Yes, the face-to-face training will come back. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure of that. However, the form of it might change, might differ. Uh, Therefore, and the importance of virtual learning becomes more prominent, right? So the scenario that I see is that you will have two. These two kind of training will go hand in hand. Yeah, because of the last couple of months, uh, there have been there are already things that have been proven that it can be done virtually. Yeah, but of course there are certain training that are still needed face to face. Yeah, but majority, if you're talking about skills and knowledge, you can do it virtually. Yeah, but the kind of work that you need to do around attitude, mindset, that will be difficult to do it virtually. But saying all that, so that means it's parallel. Therefore, what so I have always been designing for face to face. Yeah, because that's the majority of my work. All these years has been face to face workshops, trainings, sessions, and all that. So now my current project is to actually come up with models, come up with methodologies, blended methodologies, to be able to teach or to be able to support my associates and my trainers how to move them from face to face to virtual. So right now we are designing those models, we are designing those frameworks, and that is my current project right now. And I am a great believer that as you move into virtual, you cannot but to facilitate the sessions, because the when you take away the face to face, the charisma and the energy of the instructor is somewhat subdued. Yeah.
Yes.
So for me, it's therefore we need to have to be even more engaging in virtual than when we are in face to face. Because when we are face to face, our body language is already engaging. For some of us, we have
Yes.
that kind of body language, that kind of presence, which is kind of difficult to emulate in virtual, because it's two
Yes.
dimensional. So
Yes.
therefore, I believe that workshops in if you want to run workshops in online, you need to be you need to be able to facilitate virtually for those workshops to be available, to be potent, because webinars and talking heads will it's very easy to do, but because it's easy to do, there will be a lot of lambakan jualan murah on webinars and
Right.
talking content. So eventually people will be hungry for virtually facilitated learning sessions. So that's my project, is to come up with framework, distinctions, and models around what we are coining virtual facilitated learning sessions, which are virtual workshops. That's my current project right now.
Okay. Anything you would like to share? Any snippets from there?
Um, yeah. Also, yeah. One of the things that we are promoting, the model that we are promoting is the marriage between virtual and real world that I just shared. So
Okay.
that is one of the things that we are designing. So in terms of the framework, we have there is also a myth. Yeah, I mean, not, yeah. There's a lot of saying that it's virtual is very hard for you to like it's very tiring. Therefore, you can only make it at most 3 hours. Yeah. So this is also something that actually somewhat true, but somewhat untrue as well. Okay, so this is one of the things I'm going to share in my Facebook this week. Yeah,
All right.
busting the myth about 3 hour sessions only. Actually, you can run a full 1 day session, but it has got to be designed deliberately to run. And we have this method called the sandwich method. It's a framework. It's called sandwich, yeah, where you take a 1 day virtual workshop, then you need to sandwich it between um, three phases
Right.
of design. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a framework that we have designed, that we have tested, and so far it has worked. And the recent one that we just completed was a 3 day, 8:30 to 4:30
Wow.
virtual workshop. Yeah. And for Petronas Learning Center. So it was well received because we followed this sandwich method. So
Wow.
I'm designing those kind of things lah, to make it easier for people to eventually move into virtual learning,
Right.
virtually
Right.
facilitated learning. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I'm looking forward to hear about that for sure. Because we are also conducting a lot of these whole day trainings. We are still
Mm,
doing the whole day trainings,
mm.
but we're just we have to figure out a lot of activities from time to time, give breaks and all, and that helps lah from our because we are more technical based.
Yes.
So interesting, interesting. So
Can.
friends, Juara, I'll just share, let everyone know we are going to finish up soon. If you have anything, if you want to just say bye to Juara, you can do this right now. This will be a good time to say bye. And Juara, thanks a lot for having us, being with us today.
You're welcome. Sorry, I was a bit distracted because I was reading. Yeah. So thank you so much, Vyasa. It has been a pleasure. I love the fact that we could share and allow others to also listen in. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay, Juara, wait for. There's one more thing I'm going to ask you. Okay, before we
Mm,
finish the show, right? So,
mm.
friends who are here, right? You can always get a recorded version immediately after the show. It's we will pass you the link at the end of the below in the comments section. Feel free to watch it again and again. It's free. Don't worry about it. And you can look back also at our past interviews that we have been doing. Is all in the links below. Also, there are a lot of interesting people with very interesting things to share. Okay, a lot of nuggets of knowledge. It's all available. And also, just a request is, if you have found any good learning from today's session, please feel free to just drop in your learnings from today's session with Juara. What did you learn? What are the points he shared, and also that it's like a community learning place where we can all learn together, and we can get the summary immediately after the show. Right. So if you have been listening attentively, you can always go back into the video and check back, the certain points and just share it down in the comments, right? Next week, we'll be having a lot of business people sharing on how they have, used really alternative methods to come out from this slum time. Okay, and they're actually making money. First, it was very jammed, and then now they're actually making a lot of money during this time. Okay, so it'll be very interesting to hear how they pivoted, right? So again, before you leave, Juara, there are a few people who have actually just friends of yours, Ravin, of course, Sarini is there, said thank you. So many gems. Ravin said thank you. And then
Welcome.
Meteor, and then Captain Shan here. Thanks for the sharing.
Thank
Anis
you.
Al-Habshi. Okay, Vimala said thank you. Ravin, thanks Ravin for watching. And then Christina Amandip Gill said, thanks, Juara. You have always been so giving since the first day we met. Right?
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
And from LinkedIn, we have Lechumi said, thanks, Patia, Saiden Patty. Okay, say bye and thank you. So, Juara, just before we finish, just do you have any parting advice before you leave for the show today?
Well, I guess if you find this useful and anything that you find useful, take it for a test drive, and I would love to hear how it came up, how it panned out. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
just practice. Yeah. That's all.
That'll be awesome. That'll
Thank
be
you.
awesome. share the learnings here. What you have learned. That'll be good. And then at least Juara can see later on, your points, what you have caught in the whole show. He can see, and he probably can give some feedback too. All right.
Yes.
So with that, Juara, thank you so much. Salute. I'll see
Okay.
you again sometime soon.
All right.
Juara, just stay back after the show, yeah? After we
Okay.
end the
All
live,
right.
just stay back for a while. Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.